Hello, everyone, and welcome to SCORE Fairfield County's live webinar on Find Your Perfect Business Match. I'm Bob Hogan, the webinar coordinator and a business mentor here at SCORE Fairfield County. I'll be your host today, and our presenter is Holly Hurd. More on Holly in just a minute, but first some brief information on SCORE. SCORE is a nonprofit national partner of the SBA with over 10,000 volunteers nationally, and locally here at SCORE Fairfield County. We have over 100 volunteers with a wide range of industry process and business expertise. And we offer three primary value-added services to small business owners. First of all, we offer free one-on-one counseling, and you can access that counseling or business mentoring either on in-person, via video, telephone, email, whatever works best for you. And you can do that by clicking on the yellow bit.ly link that you see on the screen, or you can just go to our website and click on Request a Mentor. Secondly, we offer a wide range of educational programs, both in-person workshops and online webinars like the one today. And lastly, we offer extensive resources on our website, including business tools and information. Our next live webinar will be Friday, this Friday, March 28th at noon, when Kimberly Farrar-Powell will be presenting on human resource essentials for small business owners. Again, you can find more specifics on our website, fairfieldcounty.score.org. We also have a large number of recorded webinars on our website that cover a wide range of business topics, and you can view those at any time by just clicking on on-demand webinars when you're on our website. Just some logistics about today's event. We have set aside time for questions and answers at the end of the presentation. So if you have a question, please use the Q&A button at any time during the presentation. It's located in the lower part of your screen. Our webinar will end sharply at 1 o'clock to respect your time. The session is being recorded, and a link to the recording will be available on our website within the next day or so. It's now my pleasure to introduce our speaker today, Holly Hurd. For 15 years, Holly has interviewed and profiled hundreds of entrepreneurs through VentureMom.com. Her platform highlights how women turn ideas into successful ventures. Coaching others to identify their goals and take action is her strength. Her first book, VentureMom, From Idea to Income in Just 12 Weeks, became a bestseller, offering a step-by-step guide to launching a business. Her upcoming book, The Life-Changing Power of One Question, explores how asking the right question at the right time can reshape someone's path. It's geared toward those at turning points, and it provides a framework for change. Holly, it's all yours.
Thanks so much, Bob. Hi, everyone. I love doing the SCORE webinars. I love what SCORE does. I think it's a fantastic resource for entrepreneurs and people in the community to get a wealth of knowledge from all of the SCORE volunteers. So I have not done this webinar before, Find Your Business Match, and I find that that's one of the most difficult things for people to do, and what I have seen in the last 15 years. A lot of people fall into their business. That's kind of how I got started. I had a full-time job, but I loved women entrepreneurs, and so I wanted to write a book, a motivational book, and I decided to pepper the book with women who had started their own businesses. So I started my blog 15 years ago, and it's something I really enjoyed doing. I had no idea where it was going to take me, and I just started writing stories of women like the ones you're seeing here. That has led me to What Would Venture Mom Wear, where I showcase items that are created by women businesses. And then I do get affiliate marketing income from those posts that I do. But over the last 15 years, and in my book that Bob just mentioned, one of the most difficult things, people always say to me, well, I want to start a business, but what would that be? I'm kind of a venture detective. I can have a conversation with someone at a cocktail party, and within 10 minutes, I've come up with a business for them. It's kind of annoying because not everyone wants to have a business. But for those who do, I have a process that I've created that helps people figure out what kind of business they should be in. So I'm going to go through that with you today. And I want to start with, what, where, and who. So if you asked yourself, what do I like to do? So it would be pretty evident. And I've shown some pictures on the screen from music to, fishing, sports to refinishing furniture. So these are, and this has led me to my second book, The Life-Changing Power of One Question. A lot of times we don't take the time to really look at how we spend our time, what we really enjoy doing. And I don't believe, I guess you can. I think it's really important that you love what you're doing. Do what you love, the money will follow. That's not always the case, but if you don't love it, it's certainly not going to be the case. Here's the do what you love, the money will follow. And I'm showing some other examples. Maybe you're a gearhead. Maybe you love to cook. Maybe you love to knit. And your question is, well, how do I turn that into a money-making business? How do I turn cooking into a money-making business? I work on my own car in my garage. How can I create income from that? So the first thing I coach people through is just to discover what your area of interest is. And most people already know this, or it should be pretty evident. So I have a whole questionnaire that people go through. And so I would ask you, what kind of magazines are on your coffee table? Now, maybe I'm dating myself. Maybe it's not magazines, but it's what's on your Pinterest board. Who are the people that you follow? Do you always look at knitting, what people are knitting? Are you a sports fanatic, but you have no idea how to turn that into a business? Do you love finance? Do you follow the stock market? Are you a closet architect? Do you love, I know there's a guy in town, he drives around every Saturday looking at what houses in town, where they are in terms of their building process. And he can tell you, oh, well, they're 2 months out, they're doing the sheetrock now. But is there a way, just because he loves to do that, is there a way to monetize that? So what do you like to do? Do you like to exercise? And I always ask people, if you had a full day and your work was done, or you had the day off, you didn't have to work, the dog was fed, the kids were taken care of, your partner didn't need you, what would you spend the day doing? For me, I love to be at my computer. I'm not a big cook. Maybe you're creative. Maybe you crave being with other people. Maybe you like to travel, or you like to read travel magazines or plan travel. So figuring out what your specific area of interest is, that's the first thing you need to do to find your perfect business match. A lot of times people are afraid to start a business because they're afraid they're going to fail. I do think you need certain parameters in terms of the logistics, but if you knew you weren't going to fail, what would you do? So this is a really important question. I don't know if I think you've got to look at what you really want to do. Another good question is, what do your friends compliment you on? Maybe it's how easily you do your taxes, how you cook. Maybe you make a fantastic belt and everyone says, oh my God, that belt buckle. I profiled a woman who did inlaid belt buckles, and they weren't inexpensive. It wasn't like a craft project. And she ended up starting a whole business selling in boutiques across the country these belt buckles, but simply because people complimented her on it. Maybe people compliment your gardens. I can tell you right now, and people who do things well don't realize that other people don't. I could not plant a garden to save my life, but there's a business around planting gardens for other people. Maybe you take fantastic photos of children. your children, and people say, oh my God, I love your photographs. Well, not everyone can do photographs like that. So maybe you start a business around that. So I'm basically asking, what's your jam? Um, you probably already know the answer to this. And if you don't, take some time to look at what's in your world, what you like to do. Do you like animals? Not everyone does. Do you love to exercise? Are you a nature buff? I don't like to walk on the grass, but some people do, and there are other people that would follow them on a nature walk all day long. The next piece of this, so you figured out what you like to do. The next piece of this is who you like to be with. So is it kids, elders, animals? Do you like to be alone? Do you like to be with your peers? So there are a multitude of businesses around elder care. I have a friend in town, and her best friend lives in Chicago, but her mother happens to be here in an elder care facility. And she loves to be around older people. So she has started a business visiting with, she started by just visiting with this friend's mom, but then she realized that there were other lonely elders at the facility that she could offer her services, whether it was, just sitting down for half an hour and chatting with someone, because these days the world is so spread out. Maybe it's playing a card game or doing some kind of, discussion with elders. Some people love to be with kids. So let's say your jam is golf and you want to be with kids. Here's an example of a guy teaching golf lessons. Um, Dog walking. Now, in Fairfield County, people will pay a lot of money for people to take care of their animals. And it usually runs from $20 to $30 per walk. So this guy right here, you can do the math, multiply the number of dogs he has by $30. He's making a really good living in this 1 hour. Now, granted, he's got to pick up all the dogs, so it's probably more than an hour. But if that's his day, that's not bad. I knew a kid who was in college and he cared for dogs, and he was making more than six figures caring for dogs. So the second question to find your perfect business match is figure out who you like to be with. Where do you like to be? Where's your happy place? Is it on your bike, biking through, back roads? Is it, with a group of people? Maybe you lead biking trips. There's a fantastic company in Martha's Vineyard that vacationers can sign up for, and the leader takes them on bike trips. It's like a mini back roads for a day in Martha's Vineyard. So if you're new to the area, or even if you're not, if someone is living there in the summer and loves to bike, my brother-in-law lives on Nantucket, and he knows all of the inside trails. So if he wanted to start a business doing bike tours, he could easily do that. Maybe you're so into antique lighting. So maybe you are sourcing antique lighting for people who are looking for specific lighting when they're renovating their homes. Maybe you're a bird watcher and you're really good at that, and there are other people who would like to go on a nature hike and look at birds. So my question to you is, in determining your perfect business match, where do you like to hang out? Where is your happy place? Where do you find yourself gravitating towards when you have free time? So part of the process is starting a vision board. And I do suggest, if you'd like, doing it in hard copy. So taking the magazines on your coffee table, taking some lettering, or simply just taking a marker. Doesn't have to be, it's just for you. And another thing I think that there's a wheel of life where you look at certain areas of your life that might be lacking. And it's got work, religion, relationships, romance, all the wheels of life. For our purposes here, we're talking about your work life or your side gig before you make enough money in the side gig to quit your full-time job. But take a vision board and envision what that would look like. There are also templates online that would allow you to pull any image online to create an online vision board if you don't want to do a hard copy. So the other thing I would suggest that you do is visualize your day. So let's say you're starting a gardening business where you would come to my house. Let's say I hear about a man or woman who plants your vegetable garden. I mean, I would love that. And you would come and meet with me, tell me what you can provide, your services, and then you would say, what kind of vegetables do you want? And I would say, I'd like tomatoes and cucumbers and basil. Simple, right? And so you would say, okay, this is what I will charge to, first of all, we've got to find a place in your yard. Here's what it's going to take to get this prep to plant. I will get all the plants. I will plant them. I will come once a week to trim and weed and do whatever you need, right? That's a business. And that person could charge a great deal to do that for anyone who doesn't know how to garden and wants a vegetable garden. And maybe it's just a pot on your porch where they say, listen, I'm going to provide you with a couple of pots. In these two, it's going to be basil, and this one will be cucumber, and this one will be tomatoes. That's a business that people would pay you for. It may be easy for you, but not for everyone. So visualize your day. You're getting up, you're doing some marketing, and then you've got client meetings where you're going and seeing what their yard looks like and then making a proposal. On other days, you're actually doing the work. You're going to Home Depot and sourcing the garden plants. And then on other days, you're taking them out. And then you have to put in, I mean, that's a full-time job, but you have to figure out, does your day allow for that, right? And that's where we get to the logistics. So how much time do you have to spend on your business? How are you going to schedule your business? Now, if you have children who are in school and you want to do your business from 9 to 3 while they're in school and you have to be home at 3, then you have to plan your day accordingly. And a gardening business, you can certainly do that. I have 2 friends who have a container business. Now, their business is very cyclical. They have the holiday season, so they're super busy in November. And then they also have the spring summer business, which is in May. And they source the materials, they plant the materials, they maintain the materials. Now for that business, there's very little startup costs. They're putting it all towards their clients. Here's what it's going to cost me. So it takes your time to go meet with your clients about their garden, but there are no startup costs. For other businesses, primarily products, you do have startup costs. If you're starting a landscape business, you absolutely have startup costs. So these are things that you need to look at when you're considering what kind of business to start. The other thing is to look at what you're currently doing. So let's say you wanted to start a tutoring business. You were once a teacher, now you have a full-time job doing something else, but you're very good at teaching 10th grade algebra. So you put yourself out as a tutor and you give your available times. I'm available from 6 to 8 at night, and Saturday and Sundays from noon to 5, because you have a full-time job. But tutoring, you can make a lot of money as a side gig as long as you can schedule it around your current job and people hear about it. So then I want you to do, once you've figured out what your jam is, who you like to be with, what your logistics are. So you've gotten to an area of interest. I want you to do a deep dive in that specific area. So, yeah, so the next slide is do your research. So who has a business that you envy? Like maybe you want to do bike tours and you spend your time on Block Island or in the summers in your hometown on the weekends. So here in Connecticut, there are amazing trails with an hour away. If someone put together a girls trip and said, hey, on Saturday, we're going to do a bike lunch day. So sign up here. I'll organize the whole day. You will meet us in Hudson Valley at the bike shop, get fitted for a bike. We'll go on a Rails to Trails bike, 2-hour bike, which I love to give a shout out to Rails to Trails. They have taken old railroad tracks and turned them into biking and walking trails. So let's say you've got a full-time job, but you love to go up there, but nobody else knows about it. So you start a business where you're going to take other women to the Hudson Valley and you're going to take them on a bike tour. So you set up the bike rentals, you set up a place for lunch, you charge a certain amount, which covers your expenses plus your time. It's a great girls' trip, a Saturday. Wouldn't that be fun, right? Maybe you want to start a kids' pottery class. So maybe you have kids in school and you love to pot, do ceramics. I have a friend who's got a kiln in her garage that was left when she bought the house. She could do ceramics in her garage and have kids' classes on the weekends and kids' birthday parties. Maybe you're the guy who's doing the work on your car in your garage. Maybe you offer it to high school kids who want to learn more about working on cars, and you charge them to come for 2 hours on a Saturday afternoon. So I like to tell my clients to start with a file of information, and you would do your research. You would see who's doing what you want to do. You would create, what their names are, what they price, how they do their marketing. Is this something that would work for you within your area of interest, within your time frame? And is it going to deliver the kinds of funds that you want to make? So a lot of people need a business that pays the rent. A lot of people don't. If it's something that's got to pay the rent, you've got to be very careful and know what you're doing. So the next step is, do you need a class or a type of certification? So if you are going to be a home cook, is there a certification or a type of state certificate you need to cook in your own kitchen? You need to do the research to figure that out. Are you wanting to measure for an architect or work for an architect? Do you need to go and take some kind of class for that? This should be part of your research. If you want to do a kids class, do research on what other people are offering to the children in your hometown. Find out if there are nursery schools that you could go visit and be paid and show them how to plant or pot or do a craft. And how much would they pay for that? And what are their hours? And does that fit into your lifestyle? If it's a product, visit the production facilities. I had 2 women who started a cookie business out of their own kitchen, and it got so big that they needed an outside kitchen and they needed to scale. So they had to visit a bunch of production facilities. I've had other women who started an Italian bag line and they needed Italian leather goods manufacturers. So lucky them, they got to go to Italy and visit those production facilities. Now, you may not have the time to go to Italy, but you can certainly do a lot of research online. The next thing to do is informational interviews. Talk with everyone you know who's doing what you want to do. People love to share what they're doing. If you're going to compete with them, they might not be as forthcoming, but my feeling is good karma goes around and everyone finds their own audience. Be very clear. I'm thinking of starting a kids cooking class. I know you're doing it. Would you be willing to share how you got started, what you offer, what your tips and tricks are? I hope you don't think I'm competing with you, but I may be. If you're not comfortable with that, no worries. But I do find people will find their own audience. So ask everyone you know doing what you want to do, how they do it, and gather information. Be a shadow for a day. Set up an internship or a returnship if you want to return to work or return to a former business. Maybe someone's become a wedding photographer and they need someone to help them. Ask if you can work with them at no charge on one of their weddings to learn how they do it. You can get all of their pricing probably online, but shadowing someone for a day as a free helper is a great way to get information on what you want to do. I talk a lot about a service versus a product. Everyone has different talents. I touched on this earlier. So you may think that planting a garden is a piece of cake and no one would pay you to show them how to do that or plant their garden. I can assure you, not everyone knows how to plant a garden, maintain a garden, how to use soil, where to get plant material, etc. By offering your expertise, people will pay for that. Being a photographer, not everyone is a good photographer. There was a woman who taught people how to use their phones for good photography. The class was sold out. Not everyone knows how to take great photos on their phones and what options there are for editing your photos. That would be a great class that you can take on the road. And maybe you take a group of people out to photograph, but make sure you like teaching other people your skill, right? Exercise is a big thing. If you love to exercise, get certified as a personal trainer. Maybe you want to be, start a physical PT business. I mean, that's a really big one. But people start out small and they grow big. But just recognize that, like, use what you have decorating. Not everyone can spatially move things around a room and make it look great. If that's your talent, build a business around that. So, service product in Fairfield County, people will pay $100 to $250 an hour, and sometimes even more for these types of things. Family cooking. I know a woman here in town, she had 4 boys, and she started a business where she would cook things and leave them in the refrigerator of her garage. People would come by, Venmo her, pick up the dinner for the night. Well, she now has a full-on kitchen and catering business. Photography is a big thing here. Everyone wants pictures of their kids. Tutoring is huge, whether it's SAT tutoring, the tutoring for boarding school, photo books. That's easy for some people. It's not easy for others, and people don't have time to do it. So if you offered a photo book business, computer tutoring, helping elders manage their passwords and what they have on their computer is a big business as well. Career coaching, dog walking, I mentioned that, event planning, organization is huge, and that does take certification, and there is an organization for that. Transportation, driving people to and from the airport, but you have to love to drive. So all of these things are great, but if you're not good at it and you don't love doing it, it's probably not the best thing to do. So if you're going to have a product, this is going to be a little more involved. Let's say you want to sell these beautiful bowls up here in the top. Well, are you making the bowls? Are you sourcing the bowls? What is your theme? These are bowls from Italy, and you want to have a website where you sell these ceramic bowls from Italy because you can't find them at any stores here. Someone commented that they love them at your house, and you have sourced the vendor in Italy and you're going to import them. Now that's going to cost money, and that's going to create, you're going to have a website, but frankly, you need a website for a service. Maybe you love collecting wooden, old kitchen utensils. Not everyone is good at that, and you've got a huge collection and you want to sell them. Maybe you want to sell these earthenwares as well. Maybe your product is dinners. Maybe it's this glassware. Maybe it's the drink mix. Beauty products are huge. So here again, you're looking at your time commitment on a product, funding. Do you need equipment? Do you need space? What is the certification? And then employees. This is a big one. So having a product and growing your business, SCORE, I would venture, could help you in all of these things in creating your business plan. 6 hours to a side gig. A service venture is so easy to start. So let's go back to our gardening business where you're going to come over and plant a garden for people. Well, you name it Green Garden, right? Come up with a name. I have a whole chapter in my first book on how to come up with a great name. You make lists of maybe it's your street, this Oak Street kitchen that you see on the screen. She started cooking classes in her home and she named it Oak Street because that's where she lives. Other people, KPE Arts, those are her initials, and she curates art for people's homes. And she also takes art trips where she organizes the trips for groups of people to cities around the world, and you visit art museums because that's her jam. She's really good at it, and people pay her to put together those trips and curate art. But Oak Street Kitchen, KP Arts, tutoring, some of these things require no startup capital at all. Brand your business. 2 colors, 2 fonts. It doesn't have to be perfect. Price your service by project or hourly. So let's say you're doing the garden business, green gardens or vegetable gardens for you. So that's the name, vegetable gardens for you. So you would come to my house and look at my yard and say, okay, I can do this project for X. This is what it's going to include. I expect to be paid 50% upfront and 50% upon delivery. Be very clear about your product and your service. Women have a harder time pricing their product, asking to get paid, and getting paid. So make sure you're very clear about that. Set up a website. It can be as simple as a home page, which says Oak Street Kitchen, an about page. My name is Susie Smith and I do cooking classes. Here's my background, and then a contact me page. If you'd like to do cooking classes, reach out here. And then you need to tell the world. So name your business. I have a couple of great ones. It seems like in my search, a lot of people are using black and white. So come up with something that is meaningful to you. Tata Harper is a clean beauty brand. So hence the color green, and her name. And she's sold around the world. She started out very small. Many of you know Mrs. Meyer's Clean Day. She started out with one product and she's around the world now. Ritual Zero Proof, that's a great new non-alcoholic beverage, like non-alcoholic tequila, non-alcoholic scotch. And they thought about having a cocktail at night as a ritual, right? And so they said, well, let's call our brand Ritual, but then they tell you 0 proof. So they're telling you in the name, it's alcohol for a ritual. Susan Shaw Jewelry. That's basically her name and the word jewelry. You understand what that means. Living Forward. This is helping elders move forward, either in a house move or transitioning to a care center. So come up with a great name. Brand your business. This is pick 2 colors, pick 2 fonts, have a logo, and do a banner. So Golf Teeny, they started small and now they are everywhere. It's golf clothes for women, and now they've started a men's line as well. And Golf Teeny is a takeoff on the word martini. So they've got the martini glass, and then they've got the tea and the golf ball in the glass. That's a great name. Pure Body Nantucket, natural, beautiful skincare, and she sells in the farmers markets on Nantucket. This Pink Books and Coffee, this is my banner. And so I use this a lot. If you saw script red and white, Coca-Cola, you know what that is. You want people to feel that way about your brand. Order on the Court. This is a line of tennis wear where this woman imports imports clothing from Europe and sells unique tennis wear out of her home. So you're ordering on the court, tennis court, and she's got 2 tennis balls. You can hire someone to do your logo, or you can get it done for free online. So get a great logo, pick great colors. It doesn't have to be perfect. In my book, I give you a week to come up with your name, a week to come up with your logo and your colors. And just remember, you can always change it. Nothing is forever. But you want to use your branding across all of your channels and everything you do. So price your product or your service. So research what people are doing in your area and what things charge. I'm sorry, what people charge for things. For example, this guy started this Spearhead spade, and it's got thick edges on the shovel part, so you can really step on it and be secure. He charges $58. He's done really, really well. And he sells at garden shows and garden centers around the country. Here you can see something, if you want to work with me, pink and brown, those are my colors. My logo is there. My font is there. And you should have service packages. If you're doing tutoring, let someone buy 10 hours that they can use over the course of a year. But again, be very clear how you're pricing, how you're going to invoice, and if you're able, have a click to pay button. So you do have a tech setup. If you're not tech savvy, hire someone. If you're at all tech savvy, and you don't have to be that tech savvy, go on Squarespace. You can start up a 3 or 4 or 5, however, you can start up a 4-page website in a matter of hours. And this is a woman who's a nutritional coach, and her website has home, about, work with me, her books and products, and contact. I mean, it could be as simple as home, about, contact. It doesn't have to be that difficult. And also Squarespace and all of the sites, Wix, they will help you for free. So if you're having trouble, you get online with them, you get someone at the company to help you. And within an hour, you've set up, that's why I say 6 hours to a side gig, probably within an hour. You could set up, if you're a good gardener, I'm going to call it Good Gardens, and I'll be in business within 2 hours. Now, you have to tell everyone. So brand your social media. Now you see my pink books and my coffee cup, my other banner that's on my Facebook. This is LinkedIn and Facebook. So choose your social media based on what you're doing. If you are offering fashion advice, Instagram and Facebook are great platforms to use. If you're offering financial advice or tax advice, you want to make sure you have LinkedIn on there as well. If you're targeting a younger crowd and TikTok is a good fit, or Twitter, you don't have to do all of them. Pick 2 or 3 that work for you and make sure you brand your channels with your font, your logo, and your colors. Okay, so I'm going to share a couple of stories so I can give you an idea to let you know some ideas. So this was a guy who retired from Wall Street. He started a company called Wingmen. It's a local company that will move whatever you need whenever you need it. And I'm a real estate broker, and I often need a piece of furniture taken out or moved to somewhere else. I can call him, he shows up, he packs it up, he gets it to where it needs to go, and he sends his invoicing. Now he's got the guys wearing t-shirts, he's got hats, he's got I think he's on Facebook, and his marketing is all word of mouth. He put the word out among real estate brokers, which is very easy to do. They're all found online, and he is constantly busy. He now has his own trucks and people that work for him, and he's got a great business that he really enjoys. He loves what he's doing. So that's a service. Now, this is a business. This woman started J&L Tweed. She was in Scotland on a trip, and she spilled, I think it was shampoo all over her Dopp kit. So she went down to the castle where she was staying, and they had a little tiny shop, but they had, I don't know, plastic Dopp kits, whatever, and nothing that was really great. And then that day they went on a tour seeing all of the beautiful tweeds and plaids that they had. So she had a thought, why don't I take these tweeds of Scotland and build a line? She started with Dopp kits, you know, the things that hold your cosmetics. And they were very unique. She had them manufactured. She sold them in hotels. She now sells them at holiday boutiques and boutiques around the country. She branded, she uses this Scottish thistle. I actually don't have her logo on here. And she had the perseverance. So that's kind of what you need when you start a brand. Access. She found access through the fabric in Scotland. It's very unique. It wasn't being done. She branded herself. She does the marketing through selling at farmers markets and holiday boutiques and hotels. And she had the perseverance to keep going. She's built a great business. Oh, here's the spearhead spade. This is a guy who loved to garden. He realized, you know, he's an older gentleman, and he wanted to really put strength and have a safe way to step on a shovel. So he created this shovel that allows him to step and be safe. And you can see he's got 3 different sizes, and he's created a whole business out of this idea. This is early career launch. This is a woman who guides children, young adults who are out of college or after their first job, or it's, you know, kids in their 20s and early 30s, on what their next step will be. She spent a year working for a college in their career department. After that, she started out on her own, and I can tell you that her smallest package is $4,000. And she helps you with your resume. She helps you with interviewing skills. You can see what her website offers: home, about us, her packages. where her clients come from. You know, she also has a testimonial page, and that's really good in any business, whether it's a service or a product, to have testimonials. Into Green. This was a company that realized they could use recycled yarn to create very unique blankets. Into Green, so they felt like it was two women creating green blankets. So they branded that, and they marketed, and they persevered, and they actually sold their company to a young woman, and the company just keeps growing. Oh my God, this is one of my favorite stories. Then I'm going to stop. Figs, they are really nice scrubs. Actually, I'm almost out of time, so I'm going to go through a few more things. Put it out there. You've got to tell everyone. I love a really nice business card that has your brand. People do keep business cards. Create an email list of your friends and family. Have a sign-up form on your website so you can reach out to people via email. Tell everyone you know. If you're starting the gardening business, you set up your website today, tomorrow, send to everyone you know. I want to plant people's gardens. Here's what I charge. Here's an example of my garden. If you know anyone who wants me to plant their tomatoes this year, please send them my way. This is my website. Please reach out. Email marketing is great. This would be the next step. I use MailChimp. There's Constant Contact. And if you look down here, you do a newsletter, and they will help you. Again, this is my newsletter on the right. What would VentureMom wear for sunset cocktails? And I'm featuring women's brands. Al's Brew was created by a woman. She created boozy tea. The glassware was created by a woman, and now she sells all over the world. And the dress is Oliphant. That was created by a woman. So when you do your newsletter, MailChimp, if you click off Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, they'll post it for you. I also use Later, later.com. You can schedule your posting for months at a time. So I schedule my posts 2 months ahead of time. And that helps you manage your marketing, because it is a full-time job. Make sure you add value. What are the benefits to your customers? And always in your social media and in your letters, don't constantly sell. Tell them what you're doing. Share where you took the dogs on a walk. Share a beautiful chair that you refinished. And then say, by the way, if you need me to walk your dog or finish some chairs for you, reach out. That's what I was talking to. What to share. Network, farmers market, conferences, meetups, have your business card, tell everyone you know what you're doing. Offer a free service. So you'll come over and say, do you want to try my service? Do you want to try an hour of tutoring? Get the testimonials and share those. These are some of the favorite services in Fairfield County. I'm happy to share if you reach out to me. Teaching Mahjong is a huge business right now. These are home decor ventures. And I'm going to finish with, this is how you can reach me. So I would love, hi, Bob, I'd love to open it up to questions. I think we have 10 or so minutes left.
Yep, that would be great. Thanks, Holly. We're going to use the remaining time for questions and answers. And Holly just went through a wealth of information there. So I'm sure there's lots of questions that people will want to ask. So we'll take as many as we can. The first one is from Harry. What if the service I want to offer would get possible clients into issues with 1099s versus employee classifications?
So I'm not an accountant, but my understanding is, first of all, I think as a small business, you'd much rather have a 1099, and there's a certain number of hours that someone can work for you before you have to offer them a 1099. That's a lot easier than hiring employees, but I would check with your accountant and your tax person on the specific details.
I would just reinforce that, Holly. I think a lot particularly in the early going, if you're hiring people to do specific services and whatnot, you can hire them on a contract basis, which is 1099.
Also, let me say one other thing. I use Upwork a lot, and I also use Quad Jobs. It's where people sign up and you can get a lot of work done. You put out, I would like someone to do my logo, and I can pay $100. And you'll get people who want to do that for you and will tell you what they will charge. I found a woman on Upwork who still, 10 years later, helps me with my graphics.
Great. Here's one from Jeff. What are your thoughts on investing into a franchise and utilizing the training of the franchise to train you in a new industry?
I'm more about entrepreneurship. I think make sure the franchise is well funded, make sure they are going to train you. I would talk to other franchisees and not just the ones they recommend. I would get online and call other people who have franchises and find out how they've done. I would really do your research. But, you know, there are franchises that do quite well and provide a great income, but I would say do your research.
One thing I would maybe add to that, Jeff, is the upfront costs of generally of going into a franchise are much higher than starting up entrepreneurially, the way Holly has been talking about. So you might want to weigh that the cost involved in terms of starting up your own business versus doing it via the franchise. Let me see here. Here's one from Shante. How do you narrow down what you want to do if you tend to dabble in many things like a jack of all trades?
That is one of the hardest things, and I think you need to focus. I also like throw some spaghetti on the wall. So let's say you love to garden, you love to tutor, you know, you will need to focus, otherwise you won't scale. But if you want to tutor, you know, garden in the morning and tutor in the afternoon, I think I see one of your questions being a serial entrepreneur. I'm also a big believer in multiple streams of income. So let's say you do want to garden and tutor. Gardening is a seasonal business. So maybe you're gardening in the summer and that's when kids are off and may not need you, and you're tutoring in the winter. But if it's two things at the same time, I really feel not more than 2 or 3. And once you see one taking off, you may need to really focus on that to get it to the level of income or level of success that you want.
Here's one from Susan. Can you share the name of the person who does your graphics?
No.
Okay.
You know, I do a lot of this on my own because now I have the colors and I have my, but when she's doing a graphic for me for Instagram or something like that, what I would do is go on Upwork or go on Quad Jobs and say, I'm looking for someone to help me with graphics. And the thing is, young kids, they can do that in their sleep. It is, you know, even the high school has a jobs board where you can say, I need someone to help me with my graphics. You know, my gal actually, she has a full-time job and she does my graphics and she queues up my posts for me on the weekends. So she has started a side gig working for me, making some extra money, and our relationship has lasted for 10 years. You too could find that person through, you know, Fiverr, Upwork. Tell all your friends, ask all your friends if they have a child who's really good at it.
Here's one from Jacqueline. Which came first, your book or the business? And how did you find the examples of the businesses you showed in your presentation?
So this book came after I'd been doing VentureMom for 10 years. What a publisher told me when I first started was, you don't have a platform. We're not going to publish a book for you. So I sort of had to start the platform. I started interviewing these women, and blogging was becoming popular. So I said, why don't I just put this out as a blog? It took me 2 weeks to hit the send button because I was scared to death. And so, but once I did the first post and shared it with my family and friends, I got so many calls. Oh my gosh, my neighbor has a cooking business. My niece does this. My friend does that. And so now the businesses just come to me because I'm known as someone who profiles women who have their own businesses. And I speak a lot about it. So when I go out to speak, people write me and say, I have my own business. Will you profile me? And absolutely, I'm always looking for content. So this book came after I'd been doing it for 10 years because I sort of saw the progression of people in business because I've interviewed hundreds of women who've started businesses.
Excellent. Good advice there. We got a couple of minutes here. I wonder, I'll give you one from a SCORE perspective, Holly. We help a lot of entrepreneurs start up businesses. And one of the things that we find is the most challenging for them is getting that word out there, doing the marketing and branding and the social media. Can you maybe comment for the group on how much time should be devoted to social media branding and marketing and that kind of thing? Because it can be quite time consuming.
Well, not a lot in the beginning. I always say do it on a dime. You know, Susie's gardening, call it Susie's gardening. You know, it's funny how names come into play, or I give you 1 week. If I were really being like a taskmaster, I would say, okay, and by the way, in my book are all of I give you exercises to get there, right? So give yourself a time frame and say, I have to pick a name by this date. And it doesn't have to be perfect. If it's going to be perfect, you're never going to get there. And then in terms of branding, you could pick 2 colors and 2 fonts and maybe an accent color. And then, you know, maybe your logo, maybe it's Susie's Gardens is in script and you pick a cute font. And then it's we do your gardens for you is your tagline. And that's in a different font. Done. That's it. So I wouldn't take a lot of time unless you're investing a lot of money in something that requires a big startup. You know, you're doing a large business.
We have maybe 1 more minute. I know, Jeff, you have raised your hand. If you have a quick question, perhaps you could put it into the Q&A or the chat. If not, okay, looks like he's taking it down. So anyway, it looks like that's all the questions we have for today. Just as a reminder to everyone, the webinar has been recorded and the materials will be available within the next day or so on our website under recorded webinars. And our next live webinar will be on this Friday, March 28th at noon, when Kimberly Farrar-Powell will be presenting on human resource essentials for small business owners. And again, you can find more specifics on our website. Again, if you would like to take advantage of the free individual counseling, you can use the bit.ly link that you see on the screen, or you can just go to our website and click on Request a Mentor. And we'd really appreciate it if you could fill out your evaluations today. They're very helpful to us going forward. And on behalf of SCORE, I'd like to thank everyone for attending today's live webinar. And in closing, a big thank you to Holly for presenting today. It was very informative, and enjoy the rest of your day, everyone. Thanks again, Holly.
Thank you so much. I really enjoyed it.
Take care.